Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My second presentation, the title is Group Differences in Practice-Based Approach to Education for Sustainability, or EFS Leadership Development, the application of the Plc2 method in running simultaneous comparison through the structural equation modeling framework. So let me just skip the first two slides, which is just a brief introduction about myself and my co-researcher. Well, in this study, we had a few objectives to achieve. The first one, and also the few problems to address. Well, in terms of leadership development, particularly education for sustainability leadership development, or EFS leadership development, there are not much studies. And the other issue that motivated us to do this research was the need to identify the most important indicators of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. Basically, there are different approaches to leadership development, and our focus in this study is practice-based EFS leadership development. And then also, again, there were insufficient comparative studies in terms of EFS leadership in higher education research, and also insufficient studies with respect to the state-of-the-art Plc2 methodology in social science research. Okay, so in this slide, you could see that we have three different approaches to EFS leadership development. The first one is self-managed learning. The second one is formal leadership development, which basically means that you have to take some courses. And the third one, which is the focus in our study, is practice-based learning, or practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. And what we did in this study was to simultaneously assess the impact of 5 binary demographic variables on the perception of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. So the predictor variables, all of them are binary variables: gender, marital status, country, which is Malaysia and Japan, having administrative position in the university, and also experience outside higher education. So we have 5 hypothesis tests. And with respect to methodology, our research is quantitative in approach, and it's a cross-sectional survey in design. Our population are academics affiliated with the Malaysian and Japanese public and private universities, and the instruments to measure practice-based approach to EFS leadership development had been developed by Scott in 2012. We used the 8-item scale of this instrument. And with respect to method analytic procedures, we use the state-of-the-art Plc2 methodology. We also estimated our model with maximum likelihood estimator and compared the results so that you could see the performance of Plc2 estimator. All right, the initial sample was 664 academics, and we replaced the missing values with the median of the items because of the low rate of missingness in our data. We also specified our causal model to evaluate it, because basically PLS approaches cannot handle one-factor models. And we also replaced the 5 binary variables, the 5 predictor variables in our models, with dummy factors, so that we could meet some other statistical requirements of the analysis. We also identified one multivariate outlier. We deleted that from our data, and our data was multivariate non-normal, and therefore we used the robust Satora-Bensler estimator to estimate our model. So this is just the profile of the respondents. Let me just go to the next slide. Before I show you the results of the study, it's just an overview about the Plc2 methodology. I'm just presenting this slide because I know that many of you have not even heard of this methodology. Basically, this methodology has the advantages of both covariance-based methodologies and PLS-based methodologies. It can improve, it can increase the explained variance in the outcome variable, and at the same time, you can have the luxury of a lot of well-established fit indices and also convenient standard errors in your estimation. So it can also be used to estimate longitudinal models where you collect data over time. All right, so we estimated our model, the model that I showed you earlier, and we observed that gender, marital status, and having administrative position did not have any effect on the perception of academics in terms of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. And we also observed one misspecification in our model, which was the covariance between two residual terms. We allowed them to be to covary, and then we estimated our model. And finally, we observed that only based on our final model, only country and also experience outside higher education were significant predictors of our outcome variable. So country, it was a binary variable, Japan and Malaysia, and experience outside higher education was yes and no, having experience or not having experience. All right, so let's just have a quick look at the results. These are the factor loadings of our latent variable or our outcome variable, and I have presented both the PLS-E2 results and also the maximum likelihood results. And you can see that they are somehow comparable. All the factor loadings are quite high, and we have actually achieved convergent validity and also reliability or composite reliability of our latent outcome factor. And here also you can see the past coefficients running from our predictors to our outcome factor. Sorry. So let me, although I have presented both ML results and also PLS-E2 results, but I just focus on PLS-E2 results to explain, just to save time. Basically, you could see that only we had 5 hypotheses, and only H3 and H5, which were related to the impact of country and experience outside higher education, were supported. And also you can see the past coefficients and standardized past coefficients and all of these. And basically these two predictors could explain 14.5% of our outcome variable. Of course, it is because our predictors are just binary variables. We could not expect to have a very high, very big R-square value in this analysis. And also, I have provided the fit indices that have been estimated based on, that have been calculated based on both PLS-E2 and ML methodologies. So you could see that both are, I mean, they're very somehow well fitting models. And here you could see the model based on PLS-E2 and also ML. So I have summarized all of those information into these two models. The values in bold are unstandardized coefficients, and also the values in italic are the standardized values, so that you can simply compare them. And also these are the items of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. And so you can see that learning on the job is one of the indicators. Studying the real-life workplace problems is another indicator. So these are the indicators of practice-based approach to education for sustainability leadership in academic settings. So summary of the findings, because all of the factor loadings were quite high, this just indicated that they are highly correlated with the constraint of interest in our study, which was the practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. We observed that learning on the job based on the PLS-E2 result was the top, was the most important item. And the second important item based on PLS-E2 results was a study of real-time workplace problems, which was, of course, the first, the most important indicator based on ML results. And we observed significant differences between Malaysian and Japanese, as well as between academics in these two countries who have experience outside higher education and who do not have experience outside higher education. So since Japan was coded with 1 and Malaysia was coded with 2 in our data set, both PLC2 and ML results indicated that the practice-based approach to EFS leadership development was more important for the Malaysians comparing with their Japanese counterparts. Also, with respect to experience, since academics with and without experience outside higher education were coded with 1 and 2 respectively, then our analysis showed that practice-based approach to EFS leadership development was more important for those academics with experience outside higher education. So again, both of these two predictors could explain 14.7% of the variation in the perception of EFS leadership development or practice-based, in particular practice-based leadership, EFS leadership development. So there are some practical and policy implications. Basically, the content of academic leadership development program can be updated based on the indicators of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. Since gender, marital status, and administrative positions were not significant predictors of our outcome variables, any policies related to practice-based approach to EFS leadership development can be made irrespective of gender of the academics, their marital status, and also the fact that they have any administrative positions or not, and also making policies to enhance Japanese academics perceptions in terms of the importance of practice-based approach to EFS leadership development could be recommended based on our results. There are a few other policy implications. Allow me to skip them to save time. We also had some analytical and methodological implications. Basically, our study serves as one empirical example for the application of Plc2 methodology. So in case that you would like to get familiar with this methodology, which is very simple but very powerful, you can simply focus on our article and see how this analysis can be done. And in terms of the limitations, we only focus on practice-based approach to EFS leadership development. There are two other approaches, which is formal and also self-managed approach to EFS leadership development. So in future research, people can focus on those areas. We also considered 5 predictors, including gender, marital status, administrative position, country, and experience outside higher education. So there are some other demographic variables that can be their effect can be assessed. And our sample size, with respect to our sample size, our Japanese sample was much smaller comparing with the Malaysian sample size. So in future studies, perhaps our study can be replicated using more appropriate samples. With respect to size, again, we focused on public and private universities. In future research, our study can be replicated in polytechnics, community colleges, and also private colleges. And another one which is quite important is that comparative studies on the 3 approaches to EFS leadership development, self-managed, formal leadership, and formal leadership development, and also practice-based, is required to identify the most important, the most productive approach to leadership development of EFS leaders. So our study again was funded by the Sumitomo Foundation in Japan. We are very grateful to them, and basically we provided tokens of appreciation to the people who participated in our study, and many of them allowed us to donate their tokens of appreciation to a charity organization. So we donated their tokens of appreciation to one charity in Germany, which is basically doing some good jobs for the Iranian children who are suffering from cancer. So we are also grateful to those academics who made this donation. And again, the data to estimate our model is will be publicly available. using a DOI, so you can replicate our study using the actual data that we had. And these are the references of my presentation. Later, when you read the presentation file, perhaps you would like to see what are the articles. And again, in case that you are interested in applying the Plc2 methodology, you can simply go to my YouTube channel under the playlist of data analysis with EQS. I have a few videos for the application of Plc2 methodology, so you can simply see that. In case also that you are involved in qualitative research, I have a comprehensive list of videos, for Atlas TI. That is a powerful software for qualitative research. Okay, thank you very much.